Hey guys, Level Cap here and welcome to This Week in Gaming, your weekly news recap on everything going on in the world of video games. This week we got some concerning information about the development of the next Battlefield game. Xbox made sweeping cuts to its employment, Stop Killing Games hit its major milestone, and much more. A report by Ars Technica based on insider accounts and developer interviews has revealed a troubled and potentially high-stakes development process for the next Battlefield game. After the disappointing launch of Battlefield 2042, EA brought in 3 industry heavyweights to revitalize the franchise: former Call of Duty general manager Byron Beatty, Halo co-creator Marcus Leto, and Call of Duty co-creator Vince Zampella. Their ambitious target was to reach 100 million players over the game's lifetime, a dramatic leap from Battlefield 1's record of around 30 million units sold. To accomplish this, the new Battlefield aims to offer a broad package: a free-to-play Battle Royale, a 6-hour single-player campaign, classic Battlefield multiplayer, a free-to-play gauntlet mode, and the return of Portal. However, setbacks have thrown the project's scope into question, and the budget has soared past $400 million, making it the most expensive Battlefield game to date. Many of the reported problems seem to focus around the game's single-player campaign. Ridgeline Games, led by Marcus Leto, was opened in 2022, but the studio struggled to scale up and keep pace with EA's established teams. After 2 years of slow progress, Ridgeline was shut down in 2024 and the campaign was handed to 3 other studios who essentially had to start over entirely and reduce the scope of the project to meet their deadlines. As a result, the campaign is the most behind schedule aspect of the upcoming Battlefield game and is expected to be much smaller than originally planned. Among the teams, there is widespread concern that the game will launch in an unfinished state, requiring a major day 1 patch that reviewers may not receive in time. Some employees believe the campaign is so delayed that it'll need a massive patch or even an early access period just to meet the release deadline. Creative control has also shifted. Traditionally led by DICE's Swedish office, development is now largely dictated by EA's LA-based executives, with DICE staff describing their role as merely supporting American leadership. This change has fueled further frustration among developers. A lot of this has led to intense crunch and burnout, with some developers needing weeks or months off. The immense pressure from EA, the competitive market, and fan expectations has created a tumultuous situation. This game is slated to be the most ambitious project the franchise has ever seen, while major aspects of its development are facing dire deadlines. And given the franchise's current status and the major release failings of the last 2 titles, DICE cannot afford another disastrous launch. Since we heard about Ridgeline shutting down in 2024, I've long suspected that the single player would be a problem area for the next Battlefield game. For my personal taste, I've never particularly been interested in the single-player aspect of Battlefield games, and I've never found them to be overly impressive, so this might not be a huge issue for the franchise if the rest of the multiplayer is solid at launch and the single-player is not huge in scope or needs to be delayed or whatever. It seems like the multiplayer components of Battlefield may not be in such a dire state and might actually be on track. The response to all the leaked Battlefield Labs footage seems to be mostly positive, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a best case situation with the launch of this title. Now, when it comes to Battlefield's multiplayer, data miners have confirmed the Battle Royale mode is coming after they found the in-game cinematic that will play at the start of the round. The cinematic shows several CH-47 Chinook helicopters flying over a map set in California. The Royale ring is made of something called NXC, which causes destruction as it closes. This info was data mined from the Battlefield Labs alpha client, which might suggest testing for the mode could open up soon. Sadly, Microsoft laid off 9,000 employees this week, affecting several Xbox studios and in development games. Multiple Call of Duty support studios, including Raven Software, Sledgehammer Games, and High Moon, had an undisclosed number of employees cut. Forza developer Turn 10 had nearly 50% of its staff let go. Rare's upcoming action-adventure game Everwild was canceled. An MMORPG by Elder Scrolls Online developer ZeniMax Online Studios was canceled after 7 years of development. The upcoming Perfect Dark reboot and and studio behind it, The Initiative, have both been shut down. Big cuts hit Blizzard, with as many as 100 people being let go, and their Warcraft Rumble free-to-play tower defense game having its post-launch support canceled. Halo Studios had a handful of employees laid off, and finally, funding for John Romero's studio, who is the Doom co-creator, has been canceled across multiple upcoming projects, including an unannounced AAA FPS title. The funding was vital to the studio's operation, and IGN reports that the entire development team of more than 100 employees has been let go as a result. And having covered game industry layoffs since the COVID bubble burst, this has got to be one of the worst and most impactful for sure. To make matters even more confusing, Xbox is claiming that cuts are coming at a time when they have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. This can be one of the unfortunate byproducts of a public company, where the corporation has to project the best possible news while its actions may reflect something entirely different going on internally. Can we throw over to a little bit of happier news for Xbox owners? Helldivers 2 is getting an Xbox release on August 26th. The game has been exclusive to PlayStation 5 and PC since launch. The game has been a massive hit for over a year at this point and is probably one of the more successful live service games available today. The Stop Killing Games initiative just hit two major milestones this week. Both its EU and UK petitions have reached their minimum required signature counts to be processed, and they received a follow-up. There is some concern that bogus signatures for the EU petition could affect its approval process though, so supporters are encouraged to continue signing it. Assuming it's approved after the review process, it stands a good chance of actually being considered by EU legislation. The goal of the initiative is to help create regulations for future games that prevents them from being unplayable if support for servers for games is canceled. This includes both single-player and multiplayer games. Most recently, EA announced their failed live service title Anthem is getting its server shut down on January 12th next year. If effective, Stop Killing Games could help ensure that games like Anthem need to maintain some form of playability down the road. Obviously, it's a complex issue, and the initiative just ensures that the governments will take into consideration the proposals and come up with their own rulings on it. Hopefully one that benefits gamers without creating problematic development processes for publishers. Update 10 for Hades 2 will likely be its final early access patch before the 1.0 release, and while the update isn't a major content patch like the recent Unseen update, it still includes some major balance changes and bug fixes. The main changes are reduced stun locks, a rework to how armor mitigates damage, several weapon updates, tons of balance changes, and more. There's currently no ETA on the 1.0 update, and I have been waiting patiently because I want to play the full finished product on release. Ready or Not's reviews are tanking on Steam thanks to upcoming content updates that fans are equating to censorship. The game is getting a console release on the 15th, and developers say that they've had to make changes to things like nudity, gore, and a handful of other very specific changes. They said they only made changes that were absolutely required based on regulations likely to ensure approval for console launch. Capcom embracing PC players has apparently paid off big time. Steam is now the publisher's biggest individual revenue source, bringing in over $360 million between April 2024 and March 2025. That is a 61% increase over their previous fiscal year and represents 31% of the company's total sales. These numbers were driven by major releases like Monster Hunter Wilds and the recent Resident Evil titles. This marks the 8th straight year of record profits and is due in large part to simultaneously releasing all of their games on PC and consoles. Palworld's crossover update with Terraria was a major hit. It boosted the game's player count to well over 100,000 concurrent players, and while the game has been holding steady at roughly 30,000 concurrent players, it hasn't seen numbers like this since its last major update in December. In our final story this week, Subnautica 2's future is a little murky following the sudden departure of the game's director along with the studio's CEO. The three are speculated to have been let go for failing to hit development deadlines, though no official explanation has been given and none of the executives have released statements clarifying their departure. The Subnautica sequel was announced in 2022 and is currently expected to launch in early access this year, though these firings are a little concerning, especially if they are related to not hitting deadlines. And that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. If you guys enjoy getting your news in one place every week, drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and up next, check out my coverage of Ferocious. This is a dinosaur FPS, a genre of game that I'm not gonna lie, I've got a bit of a guilty pleasure for. It's definitely worth a watch. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.